Good morning, students. Let us continue the same topic, Ranga'S marriage. The lines from the textbook are: Is there any other reason a man should marry a girl he admires? What we have now are arranged marriages. How can one admire a girl with milk stains on one side of her face and wetness on the other, or so young that she doesn't even know how to bite her fingers, one a neem fruit, the other a bitter gourd? Exactly, Ranga said, laughing. I was distressed that the boy who I thought would make a good husband had decided to remain a bachelor. After chatting for a little longer, Ranga left. I made up my mind right then that I would get him married. Ramarao's niece, a pretty girl of 11, had come to stay with him. She was from a big town, so she knew how to play the veena and the harmonium. She also had a sweet voice. Both her parents had died, and her uncle had brought her home. Ranga was just the boy for her, and she the most suitable bride for him. Explanation of the above passage is: here the narrator introduces us to a new character in the story named Ratna. She is 11 years old and is Rama Rao's niece. She had lost both her parents, so her uncle brought her from the big town to his home with him. She had a great voice and could play harmonium and veena. The narrator thought that Ranga and Ratna would make a great pair. Further lines from the text are: Since I was a frequent visitor to Rama Rao's place, the girl was quite free with me. I completely forgot to mention her name. Ratna it was. The very next morning I went to their house and told Rama Rao's wife, I will send some buttermilk for you. Ask Ratna to fetch it. Ratna came. It was a Friday, so she was wearing a grand sari. I told her to sit in my room and requested her to sing a song. I sent for Ranga. While she was singing the song Krishnamurti in front of my eyes, Ranga reached the door. He stopped at the threshold. He did not want the singing to stop, but was curious to see the singer. Carefully he peeped in. The light coming into the room was blocked. Ratna looked up and seeing a stranger there, abruptly stopped. Threshold means here a strip of wood or a stone forming the bottom of a doorway and crossed in entering a house or a room. Explanation of the above passage is: Ratna was quite familiar with the narrator as he visited Rama's place frequently. The narrator thought of a plan to introduce Ratna to Ranga. He asked Rama to send Ratna to his place as he wanted to send some buttermilk for them. She came all dressed up. The narrator insisted upon her to sing a song while he sent someone to call Ranga. Just as she was singing, Ranga arrived at the door. Her melancholic voice touched his ears, and thus he did not want to interrupt the singing, so he stood at the door. He was curious to see the singer, and very cautiously he tried to have a look which disturbed the lighting in the room. On seeing a stranger, Ratna immediately stopped her singing. Further lines are from the text book. Suppose you buy the best quality mango, you eat it slowly, savoring its peel before biting into the juicy flesh. You do not want to waste any part of it. Before you take another bite, the fruit slips out of your hand and falls to the ground. How do you feel? Ranga's face showed the same disappointment when the singing stopped. You went you sent for me, he asked as he came in and sat on a chair. Ratna stood at a distance, her head lowered. Ranga repeatedly glanced at her. Once our eyes met, and he looked very embarrassed. No one spoke for a long while. Explanation of the above passage is the narrator compares Ranga's situation to the disappointment of dropping a best quality mango on the floor just before having to truly enjoy it. It was as if something great had been stolen before one could fully enjoy it. Ranga asked the narrator why he called for him. Ratna was shy and thus looked downward, whereas Ranga stealthily glanced at her. There was an awkward silence in the room. Further lines from the textbook are: it was my coming in that stopped the singing. Let me leave. Words were words, the fellow said. He would leave but did not make a move. How can one expect words to match actions in these days of Kali Yuga? Ratna ran inside, overcome by shyness. After things went a bit awkward, Ranga said that he feels it was his coming that stopped the singing, so he must leave. However, he did not. The narrator makes fun of him because he had no intention of going. He jokes about it and says one cannot expect actions and words to match in the Kali Yuga. So, this is the explanation of above passage. Further lines from the textbook are: after a while, Ranga asked, who is that girl, Swami? Who is that inside? The lion wanted to know. The he goat who had taken shelter in the temple replied, does it matter who I am? I am a poor animal who has already eaten 9 lions. I have vowed to eat one more. Tell me, are you male or female? The lion fled the place in fear. It seems like he goat, I said. What does it matter to either of us who she is? I am already married and you aren't the marrying kind. Explanation of the above passage is: after a few minutes of awkward silence, Ranga finally asked the narrator about the girl. Now the narrator compares the situation with the infamous story of the he goat and the lion, where he where he is the he goat and Ranga the lion. The narrator replies very cleverly and intends on seeing Ranga's interest in knowing about Ratna. Thus he says that who she is not of that much importance because he is already married and Ranga doesn't intend on marrying any time soon. Further lines from the textbook are: very hopefully he asked, she isn't married then? His voice did not betray his excitement, but I knew it was there. She was married a year ago. His face shriveled like a roasted brinjal. After a while, Ranga left, saying, I must go. I have work at home. I went to our Shastri the next morning and told him, keep everything ready to read the stars. I will come later. I tutored him in all that I wanted him to say. I found no change in Ranga when I met him that afternoon. What's the matter? You seem to be lost in thought, I said. Nothing, nothing is wrong. Believe me, headache. Come, let us go and see a doctor. Some meanings are here. Betray means portray here. Shriveled means shrunken and wrinkled, especially as a result of loss of moisture. Tutored means here taught. Explanation of the above passage is: hearing the narrator's reply, Ranga got excited, although he did not show it but was quite evident, full of hope. He asks if she isn't married, yet to which the narrator replies that she is probably a year ago. Ranga was disappointed and disheartened. It was clearly all over his face. He went away quoting some work. Our narrator, having staged certain liking in the mind of Ranga for Ratna, went on to complete his play. He went to the village Shastri and told him everything that had to be said and done. Then he met Ranga that afternoon and he carried the same disappointment on his face. Upon asking if it is a headache, the narrator tells him that they should go to see a doctor.